Hey there, YouTube! How the fuck are you guys doing today? So today we're going to talk about how I specs my trucks and why I spec my trucks the way that I do, my theories behind it, what engine horsepower, torque rating, all that stuff that I pick, and the reason that I pick it that way is just for me. Maybe you have a different feel and all that shit. I just do it this way. I've had some success with it this way, so that's the reason that I pick the engine horsepower rating and the size of the engine and all that stuff. Kind of just give you guys an overview of, you know what I'm saying, how my thought process and how I do it. So the first thing you're going to do is when you want to learn to spec a dump truck, I suggest that A, you watch a lot of videos, or B, go look at a bunch of different models, okay? And look in the area where you're going to work, okay? That's the most important thing, because I've seen so many people in the state of Ohio, like, oh man, I watched this dude on YouTube and he had triaxles. Well, in the state of Ohio, triaxles ain't worth a broke dick dog, man. They ain't worth fuck, okay? Alrighty, or, you know what I'm saying? You got to look at what you're doing and go from there. Hold on here. Let me get some tea. Shit. Okay, that's the first thing you want to do. So go look at, you know what I'm saying, your local dealership. Look on the internet. There's a ton of videos out there explaining how you might be watching this video trying to learn how to spec dump trucks, okay? All right, or spec any type of truck, okay? There is things that are advantage and disadvantage. Also, know that you're not going to get it right the first time. There's going to be some shit that you miss. There's going to be some things that you learn from one to the other that you need to carry it on, okay? So mine is that I am a really intelligent guy, okay? I looked at the dump truck process like I would look at building a race car or any type of other thing. I tried to put the best components on the car, and that will give us the best results long term. As we learned about, you know what I'm saying, these drivers aren't very good. We needed to add some safety fixtures to help protect them from themselves and make their job a little bit easier. And what I learned from that is it just made them more and more fucking lazy. And they relied on more and more of the shit. So, you know, that's neither here nor there. So, in where I live in the state of Ohio, we want to choose a quad axle, a 6-axle, or a 7-axle. Okay, so what that means is how many total axles, okay? So a quad axle, for some reason, is a 5-axle dump truck. That means 1 steer, 2 drop axles, 2 lift axles, auxiliary axles, whatever the fuck you want to call them, okay? And 2 drive axles. A 6-axle is, you guessed it, it is fucking 5 axles behind the back of the truck, or 6 total axles, if that makes any sense. Because you have 3 behind the truck. Well, I guess it'd be a 7. Then the 7-axle. In Ohio, we kind of count the axles that are behind the cab, if that makes any sense. But a 7-axle would be like if you're hauling sand and gravel and all that stuff. So I'll get into that. So just your standard quad axle fucking, or 6-axle, I recommend starting at about 500 horsepower, especially here in Cincinnati. You know what I'm saying? Cincinnati is called the 7 Hills. We're very hilly, okay? And especially if you haul asphalt, dirt, grindings, all that stuff, your truck is going to be over 80,000 pounds 30% of the time, okay? Just on millings and the dirt that they put on there. It's just a natural born fact, okay? So I believe 500 is the minimum that we can get away with. The minimum torque I think you could get away with is 1850 in a dump truck. In the smaller liter engines, when we get into gravel, you can't obviously get that. For guys that like Allison caps you at 1,650 foot-pounds of torque, I do believe. I think you might be able to get 1850, but they changed something that it's not 1850 till in the higher gears. Like 1 and 2, you don't get that. I don't quote me, I'm not sure. I'm not a big Allison transmission guy, okay? So the engine that I like, and that is the best value for money, is about the 565 2050 torque, or like I think it's on the Detroits, it's like 560 2050 torque. I like that 2050 torque. Now, why I like a high torque truck is that I can lower the gear ratio. So I can take the gear ratio from like a 411 was very common. Then they went to a 393. You know what I'm saying? Most of my trucks are a 373, and then the newer ones are going to be 358 gears, okay? Because I use the torque of the engine that's what gets you up to speed faster if you have to pull hills. You know what I'm saying? I also pick I like the Endurant 18 speed transmission. I like the DD12 transmission. The automated transmissions are my thing. The more gears, the better. Especially, I look at dump truck business kind of like the heavy haul business. You know what I'm saying? You want a bunch of different gearing options to make the truck work easy. My theory is the bigger the horsepower, the bigger the torque, the less the driver has to stay in the fuel pedal. You kind of drive the truck like you would a car. You know, you want to accelerate, you go faster. You want to decelerate, you go decelerate. You know what I'm saying? There's not a lot of, how would I say this? You don't really, you don't want to drive the truck where you're just constantly, you have your foot on the gas to make it go 55 miles an hour. That's not very economical. In my opinion, it doesn't do the right thing for the gear ratio and all that stuff. So I believe in higher horsepower, lower rear end ratio to get some of the, I like, more horsepower, lower gear ratio makes it get better fuel economy. About a half a gallon more, but you know what I'm saying? From 391 to 373, and then 358, we're getting about 1 mile a gallon better. So all dump trucks, no matter what you do, your average is going to be 5, okay? Between idle time and just driving, 5 miles a gallon, knock yourself out. That's about as good as you're going to get, okay? So that's how I would spec a mixed-use type vehicle, would be that type of horsepower rating. That's the horsepower rating that I like. You may not like that, whatever. I feel like it gives you good power, and it's kind of the best of both worlds, just my opinion. I also run a tall tire, 11R24 5. I like that tire. It seems to work out a little bit better, all that stuff. Now, when it comes to like my 47X, I can only get the DD13 in those, just because the thing is, so I spec 505 1850. I got the most torque. We messed with the gear ratio on that one. I think it's 358 too. That truck gets almost 7 miles to the gallon driving down the highway, loaded or unloaded. So that's really good. Okay. Now we're going to get into like my bigger 7-axle trucks. Okay. My gravel trucks. Alrighty. My first gravel truck is, I got 389 with a steel bed. Okay, that's a 7-axle. It's got 391 gear ratios, but it has the 605 2050 torque engine. Now, I was buying those for a while, but the 605, that $8,000 premium that you have to pay to get the 605 from Cummins, in my opinion, that 40 horsepower really is not worth it. You know what I'm saying? The 565 will run right with it, okay? And just to know, with 11R24 tall tire, okay, your gear ratio go down. So that one has 391s in it. So it's really about a 373, 371 in there, just on the tire correction math, if you will, there. Okay, so the taller the tire, that extends your gear ratio. That makes you a lower gear ratio, all that type of stuff in the overall scheme of the truck. Alrighty. And a mixed-use vehicle is going to weigh, nowadays, they're going to weigh about 32,000 pounds with a steel bed and about 29,000 pounds with an aluminum body, okay, aluminum bed. Alrighty, that's kind of where you're at for a 6-axle quad. They're all right in that fucking range. Alrighty. Now, for my gravel trucks, I selected the Cummins X12 engine, okay? Now, there's a reason that I spec the truck with an X12 engine and I'll explain it to you, is that when you're hauling gravel, you're hauling by the ton, okay? That means you get paid by what the truck hauls. The idea is to get the truck as absolutely light as possible without giving up reliability and strength, okay? So that's why those trucks have a sheet and post aluminum body on them, okay? That's the lightest bed you can get. Alrighty. They have a thick floor but thin sidewalls. Alrighty. That's how we do our trucks here, okay? They're also 23-foot beds. They're made to haul about 28 ton of the lightest material. That's as big as the bed that we made, okay? And that's how we did it. Now with the X12, the biggest engine the biggest horsepower rating, you get 517.50, okay? I have an Eaton Endurance. Eaton Endurance 18 speeds in those trucks, okay? I have what they call the concrete truck tire. So they're the 445 aggressive tall tires. Those are 2 inches taller than 11R 24.5s, okay? Now you're asking, Justin, why did you put super singles on the back of your dump truck? It looks kind of stupid. It doesn't look stupid. It saves 800 pounds over dual wheel axles, okay? So dual wheels, I can save another 800 pounds. That's why the truck's spec like that, okay? Also, that X12 engine saves you 1,100 pounds from the big block X15, okay? 1,100 pounds, 800 pounds with the tires, okay? Now saves us about 1,800 to 1,900 pounds. That's almost a ton more of material, okay? A ton more of material every day over the lifespan of those trucks, because gravel trucks run, the contract I have, we run 5 days a week, every week. The only time we're off is holidays, okay? That's the reason that I spec those trucks, okay? Now, another thing that you have to consider is lift axles, okay? Here in the state of Ohio, we have lift axles, okay? I choose to run the 8,000-pound Hendrickson lift axles. I like the Hendrickson lift axles over the Watson-Chalmers axles because the Hendrickson lift axles are grease-filled hubs instead of oil-filled hubs, okay? They also are a better design lift axle. They hold up a lot better than the Watson-Chalmers that are a lot cheaper. I want the Hendricksons. Also, what is a lift axle weigh? Okay, from the 13.2 to the 8,000-pound lift axles is like 200 pounds an axle. So if we have 4 axles, you know what I'm saying, or we have 3 axles down there, that 200-pound savings is another 1,200 pounds. That's if we ever have to go haul sand and gravel with the steel body trucks, that's another 200 pounds we're saving, okay? So everything that I do is thought about weight plus durability, okay? Now we get into the inside of the trucks, okay? On all my beds, I put backup cameras and a camera in the bed so you can watch the load being put in there or whatever and all that stuff. You can kind of see when you're full, see when you're not full, all that type of stuff. Understand what's left in the bed, all that type of stuff. It takes out some of the excuses like, well, I didn't know it was in there. Well, fucking look at the fucking camera there, butthead. You know what I'm saying? It's on there for a fucking reason. So I eliminate that excuse from the driver, okay? Alrighty. Also, I like to spec trucks. I like to work on it. I like to make it better. You know what I'm saying? I run all disc brakes in my truck. Every one of my trucks has disc brakes. I only bought an older truck because you know what I'm saying? I would much prefer to have disc brakes. It takes half the time to change the disc brakes. You get about 3 to 4 pad changes before you have to change a rotor. So in the dump truck business, you know what I'm saying? We get about 300,000 miles, then we got to put rotors and stuff on it, and that gets pretty expensive. I think it's about $5,000 a truck just to change all the fucking rotors and all that shit. It gets up there. All right. The labor will kill you on that shit. But anyway, that's what I spec. All righty. Let's see. I like the interiors of the truck to have as many switches, gauges, and you know what I'm saying, all that stuff. I spec my truck like an owner-operator would be driving it, okay? Also, comes down to another thing. The way I spec my trucks, it's very desirable, okay? They hold resale value because they're going to have other things that like stock trucks don't have. How the bed design is all thought out of, all that stuff. I mean, I don't want to brag, but here in Cincinnati, I started buying trucks with lights down the side of the bed, them kind of jazzed up and looking kind of nice. Okay, once I suited up with those, every other company that's bought trucks has bought stuff very similar to my spec. Okay, matter of fact, at the Western Star dealer, they get calls all the time about, can we just have the Justin spec? Okay, like they use a lot of the specs that I have, a lot of people use my type spec. Alrighty, I worked very hard on this, but that's the reason that I choose the high horsepower. I think it just runs better. You know what I'm saying? Also, another thing is that if you have a higher horsepower truck, this is another thing to think of, the DOT doesn't mess with you that much because they sit at the top of the hills. And if you come up top of the hill, fucking barely doing 35 because your truck's got a small motor in it, they're going to pull you over every time. Okay? And you may not be overweight, or you may be overweight, but you know what I'm saying? They're still going to pull you over and get out and fucking, you know what I'm saying, finger your butthole with no lube and fucking play that fucking game with you. So there's a lot of different stuff, okay? I've learned a lot about, you know, bed manufacturers. Each of them do something better or worse than the other one does. Doesn't really seem to matter. They all pretty much kind of suck, you know what I'm saying? Like they all got corks, you know what I'm saying? They all can't get things done efficiently and timely and all that stuff. Let's see. But that's about it. You know what I'm saying? I like those type of specs. So I run a Hendrickson 8,000 pound lift axle. I run 46,000 pound Hendrickson Hallmax EX suspension. That's the newer suspension. It does ride better than the older Hallmax, just to be honest with you. It's a little bit smoother ride. We run 20,000 pound front axles. I mean, these things are set up to be heavy haul dump trucks, you know. That's really, you know, that's really it. But that's the reason why I spec the trucks the way that I do. Okay, is I'm trying to get the most amount of fuel economy and the most amount of power and easier on the truck. You know what I'm saying? Like my theory is that you build a bigger engine, you just down speed it a little bit. Does that make any sense? So instead of the truck turning fucking 1900 RPM running 75, I want it to turn 13 or 1400. I'm really trying to get it down to 1200. So it'll run 75 at 1200 RPM. That gives you a lot of, you know what I'm saying? That gives you a lot of gear and all that stuff. That's the goal that I'm trying to do. And there is something out there that you got to do a little bit between performance and fuel economy. But with the, you know what I'm saying, with the fuel economy this high or the fuel costing this much, you just need to, you know what I'm saying, you got to think about all that stuff when you're speccing a dump truck. You know what I'm saying? I know that there's other YouTubers out there that got these books about speccing dump trucks and all that stuff. You know, I haven't seen one of the trucks that they've specced look right to me. Okay, there's been some things that I've noticed, like, you know, I don't know if I'd have done that like that or whatever. Not bashing anybody, just look at it and say, really, are you diving deep into understanding like what you are really buying, what you're really speccing, how you're using the truck, and all that stuff. Remember when you're in the dump truck business, when you first start out, you want the truck to do 5 things, okay? You want to be able to haul grindings, you want to be able to haul asphalt, you want to be able to haul gravel, you want to be able to haul dirt, you want to be able to haul some type of other stuff, you know what I'm saying? So I put poop chutes in all my doors. It's cold door in the back. We have one of those in every one of my trucks. You know, what type of tarp system you have. Here in Ohio, we have to have slide tarps. All my trucks have slide tarps. Now you have to have them go past the high lift gate. You know what I'm saying? So having a high lift gate is another thing that I spec on my trucks. Why is that? Because it's easy for the driver to go in there and chisel the bed out when asphalt or dirt or rocks get stuck in there. Also, if you're hauling bigger stuff, it comes out easier. You know what I'm saying? Think of misuse vehicles. All that stuff matters when you're speccing a dump truck. That's the way that I do it. I don't know if it's 100% correct, but this is the way that Justin does it. I like it that way. You know, I don't know. I just like it. So when I order gravel trucks, the guy already knows, put the X12 in it. You know what I'm saying? Something low speed. I've never really got into pack car motors because the most horsepower they make is 505, 1850. I'm not big into those fucking things, especially when I can go get a Cummins that'll have better resale value long-term down the road. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of stuff all plays a factor in when I'm ordering trucks. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, here's another thing you got to think of when you're ordering trucks. So this is my Kenworth spec. A lot of people don't know this, but they make a different air compressor for the X15 engines. And the Detroits, they make a larger air compressor that is 37 CFM instead of 16 CFM. Okay, when you have lift axles on the truck, what do you need? CFM. Most people glide right by that. I would recommend, if you're going to use a dump truck, I would get the bigger CFM. It costs pennies on the dollar than if you have to switch it over later. Okay, there's a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I run the really big SLP 250 and 350 U-joints. I mean, you can't break these things. Okay, you know, we spit the fucking rear end out and the U-joint was still good. Okay, I mean, lifetime U-joints. Think about all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I suspect horsepower, gear ratio, you know what I'm saying, what tires I select. I really like, the best tires that I found is on the fronts, I run Michelin XEY3s. On the rears, I run, I like these Goodyears. They used to be called a 282. They were a cut-resistant compound. They were like a hybrid between an open and closed-shoulder drive tire. Work great. They got rid of it. It's now called Endurance MSD tire. Same compound, same tread. They're just refining all their bullshit. But whatever. They're trying to slim it down. But I really like those type of dump truck. You know what I'm saying? Dump truck type stuff. That's how you know what I'm saying? Think about it is that this thing is basically a heavy haul truck. Okay, you know, but you don't need all the different like gear splitting. God damn, man, this shit doesn't fit in here right. You don't need all the different, you know, you don't need the splitter box and all that stuff. I also run full lockers on my truck. We don't use them that much, but it's still good to have in case people get off in the mud and do anything like that. But that's how I spec my dump trucks. That's how horsepower, torque, all that stuff. I like it. And once you drive a truck with big torque, you'll never go back to a small torque engine. Never go back. Never, never, never. You know what I'm saying? So think about it. It comes down to location, where you live. If it's hilly, I suggest really higher torque. You know, if you're in Kansas, maybe you could get away with 16 or 1750. I don't know. You know, here in Cincinnati, we're hilly. Up near Columbus, it's a little bit more flat. The trucks usually have 450 horsepower and like that 1650 torque. I ain't into that. You know what I'm saying? They run like pigs. When you get them loaded, it's just not good. But anyway, that's my opinion on it. I'm sure there'll be a lot of comments in the thing calling me stupid and all this shit. But remember, I got 20 trucks. You probably have none. So, you know what I'm saying? Who's right? Who's wrong? We don't know. But I am pretty good at specking out dump trucks. And a lot of people have copied what I've done. So, you know, they say copy, or, you know, copying is the most senior sign of flattery or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I don't really know the terminology, but right, nobody's going to tell you you're great. They just do everything that you do. It's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense, but whatever. But we let them believe what they want to believe. But like always, thanks for watching, and I gotta fucking go.